Hello, folks. Thank you once again for joining me. My name is John Kayode Abusi, and people call me John K. So I have a new episode on my series of AWS Security Services Explainer, where I do a very quick overview and explain and bring the business value that we can derive on individual AWS security services. So the one I want to, this episode is meant for is what we call AWS Secrets Manager. So I think it's marketed as an enterprise grade credential storage and lifecycle management service. So credential grade. So that word credential grade, that shows that this particular service allows you to keep your credentials, database credentials, API keys, and some other strings that you want, confidential. You want them, well tucked away from the public eye. This is the right tooling for you to keep them. And I always say that I think the primary objective of AWS Secret Manager is to have a storage system where non-credentials that used to be hard-coded into code bases and repositories are now kept safely, and it can be accessed remotely from your code base in a well secured manner. So that is what I will say about that there. So now when you look at how does this fare with KMS, why KMS is it's more or less like what do I call it? KMS is to keep your data at rest, within your internal network secured. That is like encrypted, enveloped, you understand me now? But what this particular does is to create a separate configuration management vault whereby your configuration details, the supposedly database credentials and some other information that should not be hard-coded within your code base are kept, and they are programmatically referenced. So that is what Secret Manager is all about. So Secret Manager stores no clear test asset to disk. Every secret payload is wrapped inside a data encryption key. So provided by KMS. You can see that now. So KMS envelope encryption and dual layer access control. So production best practices, moving away from default AWS managed key to a custom managed key allows for an independent key policy to extract a database password. An identity must pass both the broad IAM policy, authorization, and target key biometric manifest in your KMS key. So that shows that even when there's a way your KMS envelope your secret manager to help it secure those plain text that you have in your secret vault, that it can, when it's stored on your disk, it's now encrypted on that disk. So I want us to imagine that this way. Your secret manager keeps your credentials, strings and API keys away from the praying eye, or maybe or had been hard-coded into a code base where anybody can see it, probably can see it. Now, when it's stored somewhere, maybe within your system, somehow the KMS key is used to encrypt those files. So this is what I want, the mental picture I'm trying to create. So cross-region replication for multi-region for global distribution architecture. Secret Manager handles a synchronous encrypted replication of secret materials across multiple AWS regions. That shows that this particular service supports multi-region replication. So business problem that this particular service solved. Let's look at this. Number one, the problem of hard-coded credential in source code. I've explained that. Number two is the throttling and latency challenge. The operational is issuing a direct API request to Secret Manager on every incoming backend microservices call introduces execution latency and quickly hit API through threshold. So what is the solution? The best practice is to integrate a client-side caching library available, for Python and Java and Go. The application put the secret once, keep it inside secure volatile application memory within a specific time to leave. So what we're saying here is that if every time you want to call on a particular secret, on a particular credential, you have to hit the API endpoint, that will cause some throttle and performance challenge. But when there is the client-side caching library allows you to cache for some time, so that when you need it again, it doesn't have to go to the endpoint, API endpoint again. It can just retrieve that from the memory. So you can actually retrieve that from the memory. So access isolation at the enterprise case. So granting developers or application role broad read access to entire Secret Manager account paths, create a flat security model with non-logical boundaries. So what do you do? Because at the end of the day, people, developers, or maybe service or team should have access to what they need. So what do you do when you don't want to, when you know that it's not best security practice for you to just grant a flat access to developers or teams on a particular part within your security management or manager? So what do you do? Enforce a strict hierarchical part naming convention. E.g., you can say prod finance DB pass. So that shows that by doing that, what you are saying is that, This part, when I grant it to a particular team or developer, you know that is the only access. That is the only part they have access to. So these are the business problem that secret management kind of solve, and best practices that you can employ while you are deploying that. I have a lot of questions I ask myself, around this particular topic. And the question is that how does TLS, how does TLS compare to KMS and to Secret Manager? So to give you a meta picture is to tell you that TLS is the industry standard protocol for encrypting network communication and establishing the identity of websites over the internet. While KMS is used to encrypt and check, identity integrity and authenticity for communications. But in the case of Secret Manager, it is used as a configuration management vault, for your development environment. So it's very good that you're able to compare, these closely related services, in the same space. And the one thing I just want to emphasize again, because in my previous video, I kind of alluded to the fact that, okay, maybe all these services, we can classify them into public infrastructure. It's not a good generalization. I look into it properly, it's not a good generalization. I will say that ACM, ACM, that is AWS Secrets Manager, and yes, that kind of go into that classification of public infrastructure. But when it comes to KMS and cloud HSM, I think that goes into another, classification on their own. And secret management and parameter store and the likes, they go to the classification of configuration management vault. So this is what I feel it's very important for one to be able to differentiate between the services, what they do, at what layer they do a good job, and where they are not the right tooling. So thank you for joining.